You've heard me say this a million times. If you watch this channel thoroughly, not one of those like weirdos who sit there and watch it from afar. You know, we've actually debated a couple of those people on this channel that watch the channel from afar, right? So they are experts on the channel, are completely unfamiliar with what happens, and then they like to pretend as if because they don't see it, their own personal ignorance, literal ignorance, and that's when it crosses into stupidity. I always say that speaking on something you don't know what the hell you're talking about is literal stupidity, because everybody's ignorant on something, but the smart people, or the rather non-ignorant people, or non-stupid people actually know when they don't know. So I mention this all the time about how Marvel and DC, not just with the books, or rather just with the live action, but also in the books, they are not in the interest of hiring people to write books that are familiar with work, with source material, and familiar with the actual brand that they'll be writing. Now, you can make an argument that there can be some instances where you would hire someone in a position that may not be of the utmost knowledgeable on something, but they bring something to the table. I guess that's a nuanced position that you kind of gotta allow for some sort of leeway, because maybe there is some person that can knock it out the park and not be familiar with it. I just don't think it's necessary, because when it comes to like Marvel and DC, the people, like, it's had such a long stretch period of time where there's all of these folks who would gladly write for that brand, that are super fans, that are skilled actually in that specific, let's say, industry. So whether it be writing a book, we got book writers that are comic book guys. You have screenwriters that are actual comic book guys, actors and actresses that are even comic book people. They exist. It's just they're not in the business of caring. Why that is, well, that's up for interpretation, or rather up for debate. But we have another example, and it's funny because I'm gonna show you the receipts on this. But the funniest thing about this is how, let me go bring this up and pause this real quick. But the funniest thing about this is how this specific writer I've already talked about. I did a video on her August 11th, 2019. I don't even know if we knew that WandaVision was going to be a thing by then. So this is what happened in the even comic book, which isn't the best in the world, but they had to concede this point. WandaVision head writer admits she never heard of Mephisto before this year. And I'm going to tell you why this is absolutely inexcusable. She says, and it's Jack Schaefer is her name, and I had an interview with Mashable. And she says it reveals why Mephisto was never in the mix. Those red herrings were completely unintentional, as Schaefer says she had never heard of him before the press rolled out. There was never any conscious intention on my part to create any Mephisto red herrings, because I didn't know who Mephisto was until I started doing press. Jesus Christ. So what? That's this year, as they mentioned. So they start doing press this year, and the actual person that is, what is she, the showrunner? Jack Schaefer says that she had no idea who Mephisto was. Now, look, I'm not saying that every comic book nerd knows everything about everything when it comes to it. Yes, it's like an encyclopedia up here. But I'm not going to be like foolish enough to believe that I know every single thing. There's a lot of things that I even have to refresh my memory on. But I know a lot. This right here is inexcusable, because at minimum, if you're writing this character in Scarlet Witch, even using these certain people, right, that you're using, we'll get into that here in a little bit. This is an inexcusable thing that you should have at least bothered to research. But all it does is confirm, what have I been saying? Marvel and DC is in the business of hiring people that have no connection to this material. It is popping right now. Comic book film is popping right now. Comic book TV is popping right now. So a lot of folks are just in the industry and they want to advance their careers, or in some cases, if not most, advance their social political views. Okay? So she never knew who Mephisto was. I'm going to tell you why that's inexcusable here in a minute. But I did a video talking about a Black Widow screenwriter who mentioned back 2 years ago that she didn't care about comic canon, which again reaffirms everything it is that I've been saying about these people. They have no connection to this. And it's not just writers. It's people that actually work for Marvel and in charge of like actually hiring or creative directions and stuff like that. They have no connection to this material. None. It's just a brand, and a lot of some aspects of stories and powers are written for them. Aside from that, they know nothing. It's just advancing their careers, a cash grab for them. They have no connection, which is why a lot of it comes out as dog crap. Or you get versions of characters that don't act anything like their comic book counterparts. And of course, the normies excuse, the Google normies excuse is, well, it's a different universe, blah, 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 blah. No. It has nothing to do with that, because it is absolutely possible to write a story that isn't, that respects the source material, that, you know, is a live action. It's not, these changes are needless, but they also don't know any better because they're stupid. Like, you're getting people that are literally ignorant on this material that they're writing. And Marvel is giving these people checks and giving them creative direction in some capacity. And they never heard of important characters. But I did this video talking about a Black Widow screenwriter. Who was that screenwriter that I was talking about? Jack Schaefer. The same person. I was talking about this 2 years ago, or almost rather, and I'm discussing how this person has no and she would give you some sort of hint that she didn't care. Talking about discriminatory canon. She didn't want to acknowledge a canon that is discriminatory. All that is code for you don't know and you don't care. But this is why it's inexcusable for you to not know who hold on, let me pull this up real quick. Who Mephisto was. This is why it's inexcusable. No, we don't need to see that. You used the twins. You used the twins as part of this whole narrative in WandaVision. If you go over to my Young Ripper 59 Entertainment page, you will see that. I've reviewed, every single WandaVision episode, every one, 1 to 5, and then I did each individual one as it came out. It's on Young Ripper 59 Entertainment, the second channel. Go check it out. But you used the twins. This is why you not knowing who Mephisto was, because those twins in their first in their iteration don't exist without Mephisto. You know why? Because she had to, Vision is not a human. She can't have kids with Vision. So what exactly did she do? She was reaching, and what she ended up doing was pulling parts of Mephisto in order to make those two, the twins, become a thing. So basically they don't exist without Mephisto. Like they don't exist without Mephisto. This is why in that iteration, this is like way back. This is like, again, when Agatha Harkness was a part of that. But it was Agatha Harkness's magic that she taught to Scarlet Witch that allowed her to then create the twins, which is why Agatha had to basically erase the twins and erase her memory of them, basically ever existing memory or whatever. She couldn't know that, but those don't exist. And that was actually Agatha, and that whole I know all over the place right now, but in that whole ordeal, actually, that was a big part of like his defeat, like Mephisto's defeat during that whole experience. So the twins don't exist without Mephisto. Yet you use the twins, and you had no idea who Mephisto was, which is why I can't even give you leeway. You could be an expert. I get it. There are some people who are experts on like 1-2 different characters. They've read all their books. You got Batman fanatics who they might not be the most knowledgeable on Superman, but they know everything about Batman. So you have experts in that field. So even if I said, okay, they brought someone on that was that may not be just like a Marvel fan in the sense that they have read a lot of works of different characters and know a little bit about a lot. It's inexcusable because of the specific narrative that you utilize within WandaVision. That's why I cannot allow them to make it. But it does double down on the fact, and I was right, I've been correct on this I don't know how many times. You can be mad at me. I posted about this on Twitter. I said, y'all can be mad at me all y'all want. I get people that are screeching at me all the time because I'm very critical of Marvel and how it is that they and how they're going about some of their hiring practices. It's not about making stuff that is specifically for me or geared towards my type of person. No, it's about you have legacy. You have characters that you didn't create that predate you. And we get these arrogant writers, arrogant people that now are a part of Marvel who are so intertwined with their like either social preferences that they don't even care. So if they got to crap on a character, they'll do it. They'll crap on the character all day long. They don't care at all. It's just about advancing. And for some of these guys, it's about more so advancing their careers with their politics, social views. But Jack Schaefer, on multiple occasions, kind of let y'all in that she had no idea what she was doing as far as being notable of these characters or not knowledgeable, of these characters. But you had nerve to use two characters that don't even exist without Mephisto. We talked about that specific storyline if you want to check that out over at, again, Young 59 Entertainment. But ain't that something? I'm right. You can be mad. I'm right. But I think the disappointing thing is that being right is not what I want to be. I don't like the fact that they are bringing people in who have no connection to this material, knowing good and well that there are super fans that probably are more qualified rather for those positions. And they're not the ones that get the gigs. So remember when I said, and this is how it manifests itself. Remember when I said that we should have been gatekeeping? Like I revised my position on that. Like maybe we should have been gatekeeping. Here you go. It's another example of what happens when we didn't. The insane people run the asylum. The unqualified get to write these characters in the future. And here we are. And where it's inexcusable that the person that is the head writer of your show has no idea who a prominent character is. It's like a prominent character to characters that you're using, which is why I said that I get the feeling that Marvel provides these writers with a list of characters and powers, and they know nothing outside of that. It's like, here's the characters, here's the powers. This is maybe they'll give a general kind of scheme of what the plans are in the future so they can write within those particular confines. But that's about it. And they just don't know. It's like, okay, this person does it. This is why we get so many iterations. And I'm not saying that it sucked. WandaVision, it was just absolute dog crap. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when you have these opportunities that don't get captured, like a Mephisto would have kind of made sense. That could have been your introduction there, but you didn't utilize them because you didn't know. That's why we don't get that. And that's why so many actual comic book fans like myself get frustrated because the stories write themselves. But because you're not even knowledgeable on them, you don't even know. And here we are. But Jack Schaefer, she's exactly what I thought she was. Again, that's the way we took the damn field.